I was a dancing piece of cake at Universal Studios. That was
That's amazing.
there are pictures. Yes, I did a bunch of runway shows for David's Bridal. I was a singing waitress at an Italian restaurant.
Wow.
Just trying to hustle and figure out my life.
Welcome to the Locala podcast, everybody. I'm Lisa Anderson, your host and publisher of Locala magazine. Today we have Anya Bradford on the couch, and I am so excited to have her here. I think you're going to really love her. A lot of people refer to her as the Disney princess. So let's dive in with Anya right now. Welcome, Anya.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, and we'll have to explain why in a little bit.
Yeah, it's actually a moniker I don't mind. So.
Good. As you should.
Yeah, exactly.
I often, whenever I talk to you, feel like you should have like little birds sitting on your arms.
Well, if they want to do my dishes, they are more than welcome to come. That would be fantastic. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. All right. So you are the regional vice president of Primerica here in the area.
Yes. It's actually pronounced Primerica.
Primerica. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
and I run the Locala office.
Fantastic.
So we have a lot of fun.
All right. Well, yeah. Tell me how you got into that.
Well, so after being a Disney princess, right, I was teaching in Georgia and just trying to figure out how to get my finances in order, right? I just gotten married. Kevin was working at a church, and we had a lot of debt, things like that. And so we actually went to the bank, and the bank decided the best way to help us get out of our debt was to take out more loans. And I didn't feel like they were interested in educating me or really helping me. They just kind of wanted to help their bottom line. So we actually found someone who worked in the Primerica office there in Georgia, and he taught us about money. Sat down, took about an hour, taught us kind of how money works, put together a financial plan for us. And I kind of joke, like I didn't understand numbers, but I was dumb enough to do what the paper said, right? Just follow step by step. And in 2 years, we had all of our debt paid off.
Wow.
We had started investing. We had life insurance. We had an emergency fund that was big enough to pay cash for a car when mine died, which it needed to die. It was definitely a piece of junk. But I think that was the moment where I was driving home in this new to me car that I'd paid cash for. And I thought, dear God, what just happened? I'm 26. I have no debt except for my house. I just paid cash for a car. I know a lot of people who need to feel this free, So I called the office and I said, hey, I know some people that I think would like this information. And they said, well, why don't you teach it to them? They already love and trust you. Why don't you get licensed and go help them? And it just kind of started this whole journey of teaching people to find financial freedom, because that opened up a whole journey for us. All that money that had been servicing debt now started going towards our adoption process. And that would have never been possible if we hadn't learned, about money. Instead of just being sold a product, we were actually educated. And I wanted to do that for people.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So you kind of hinted at some things along your story here that I think people will probably want a little backstory on.
Okay.
So did you grow up in Georgia, first of all?
No, I grew up in Arkansas.
Okay. So how did you get from Arkansas to Georgia and all that fun little
Well, I didn't go from Arkansas to Georgia. I went from Arkansas, graduated with a vocal music education degree, and went straight to Disney and started performing for them, started, hustling around town. I was a dancing piece of cake at Universal Studios.
That's amazing.
There are pictures. Yes. I did a bunch of runway shows for David's Bridal. I was a singing waitress at an Italian restaurant.
Wow.
Just trying to hustle and, figure out my life and enjoy performing. But I met my husband when I was in Orlando, and he was a pastor. So his first full-time ministry position was up in Georgia. So we got married and moved all in the same weekend up to Warner Robins, Georgia, and that's where they don't pay you to be a princess in Georgia.
No, they don't.
I know, right?
What kind of world do we live in where they don't pay you to be a princess wherever you are?
Thank you. Right. So I fell back on my degree, and I was teaching at an elementary school, and I had a blast. I mean, I had so much fun with those kids. I had an 80-member choir of 4th and 5th graders. And we actually ended up going and singing at an Atlanta Braves game on 4th of July weekend. We really had a lot of fun. But the appeal of owning my own business and being able to have flexibility of time and, being able to make the same amount of money or more, but control of my time. That was what I really wanted.
Okay.
So
what kind of influenced you in your early life to pursue singing and doing all of Disney stuff? And was it a dream from early on, or was it something that you developed as you got older?
Well, I grew up in the kind of the classic golden age of those Disney movies, right?
Yeah.
Little Mermaid, Pocahontas, like all of the singing, Aladdin, all of these things. And so I can remember when we lived at this house with a big wooden fence. I mean, I've always been, the imaginative flair for the dramatic, right? And so I had long hair at the time, and I remember I just watched Pocahontas, and I climbed up to the very top of the fence, and the wind was just going nuts, and I started singing Colors of the Wind, and I just felt like I was in my element. And
Yeah.
so I've just always had a passion for performing and singing, and always been in voice lessons and stuff like that. And in high school, my choir teacher was... he was just the catalyst that exploded a dream, that you can really do anything. And he taught me, he took us on choir tours, just really believed in me.
Yeah.
So all it takes is one person to really believe in you, and it opens up all kinds of possibilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you were there doing the hustle? Was it fulfilling the dream, or did you feel like this wasn't quite what I was expecting?
Well, of course, it sounds great, to say I'm a performer for Disney, I'm on TV doing the parades and all this stuff. And behind the scenes, it does become just a job.
Yeah.
That at the time they were paying, barely over minimum wage, and it's hard to live on that even as a single person. So I was really only in the hustle for a couple of years. So it didn't lose much of its luster to me, and I can still look back on those and really have fond memories. I met a lot of great people. I never really got burnt out, but there were some difficulties as well. There was one point, because I was 15 hours away from anybody I knew.
Oh,
I had just completely, gone so far away from my family, that like I can remember my car broke down at a traffic light, and I called my dad, and I was like, "What do I do?" And he's like, "Well, I can't really help you. I'll stay on the phone with you, but let's hope somebody can, come by and help you. Let's call, a mechanic or something." And luckily we had just gotten out of Fantasmic, a show on Disney property. And one of my fellow cast members was parked a few cars behind me, and he came up and was able to help, pull me over to the side of the road, and we got that taken care of. There was another instance where I had a situation with a friend, and because of some choices that I made, I was not able to live in my apartment for about a month and a half. So we were essentially kind of homeless for about a month and a half. And, it was really okay, because it seemed like an adventure to me, because I knew God was going to take care of me regardless of what happened. There's some really neat stories that happened in that month and a half of what would seem like a really stressful and terrifying time, that actually are some of the sweetest memories that I have.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Did you ever actually do any of the princesses? Did you ever become one of the princesses?
Okay, so the rule is, right, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you, kind of thing.
Okay.
No, I'm no longer under contract with them.
Yeah.
But the lingo they use is we were friends with. I was friends with Mary Poppins and Belle, a lot of the fur characters like Pluto and things like that. But then I also played a villain, and I was really good at the villain.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was really good. I mean, my job was to give kids an authentic villain experience. So if there were tears involved, I suppose.
I can't see you getting a child to cry.
I mean, I had to make sure they knew who I was. And, no, it was fun. It was fun. The intimidation factor of the cape and being up on the big float and screaming my, whatevers. It was fun. I had a nice, diverse array of characters I got to play.
Very cool. Now, is the lingo the same? Are you friends with the villain, or how do you say that? Because That would be
good
kind of
point.
weird.
That is a good point. I could not be friends with a villain. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I'll have to ask some of my friends.
Yeah.
And find out what that lingo should be.
Absolutely. So you had quite a big of a shift going from that type of environment to then just teaching a choir, and I shouldn't say just, but teaching a choir, because that's quite a shift. And so what was the shift like when you guys decided to come to this area?
So Kevin's best friend in the whole world was pastoring a church here in Ocala, and they had kind of always wanted to work together. Yeah. But what are the odds?
Yeah.
So he had kind of been after Kevin to put his resume in, and he was like, "No, we're having a good time in Georgia. Anya's got an office here. We love our house. We're in the adoption process. We really like where we are." And the guy just kept saying, "Come on, just put in an application. Just put in your resume." And so kind of, all right, fine, you're my friend. He put in the resume and didn't tell anybody they knew each other, to keep it a really, just a completely kind of easy experience, right? And just put it in. And lo and behold, it came down to Kevin and this other guy. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, I mean, we got to go down to interview." And I said, "You mean we're going to leave Georgia?" And he said, "Well, what do you think?" And it was... we came down, we interviewed, we loved everybody, we loved the town, and just felt like God was calling us down here. And he finally gets to work with his best friend. It was like we had instant family.
Yeah.
They have 5 kids. The family's calling us, Aunt Anya and Uncle Kevin, and it's just it was like a family reunion with people that I had met only a few times before. It was really perfect.
Oh, fantastic. And what year did you guys come down? How long have you been
2015.
here? 2015. Okay.
Yeah.
And you also touched on earlier preparing for adoption. So can you tell us about your journey to motherhood? Because you have 3 wonderful babies.
I do.
Yeah.
It had always been my dream to adopt. Like all the way from middle school, I just wanted to be a mom to kids who needed a mom. I didn't have to birth them. I didn't have to get huge and get sick and all that kind of stuff, right? And so when we were suddenly able financially to start that process, we looked at where we wanted to adopt from and found an agency that was adopting out of Burkina Faso. And so we decided that was the place where we wanted. And no, I'm sorry, it was Sierra Leone. That was the first country we were in.
Okay.
And it was right before Ebola hit.
Oh, okay.
That whole area. And so we had been Skyping with our child, with our match, right, for a couple of months, watched him take his first steps, know. And then Ebola hit, and they had to shut down the orphanage and basically hire armed guards and stock up their food supply for 6 months, almost overnight.
Yeah.
And the communication was reduced down to just emails and things like that. And that was really hard because, he was our son in our hearts. And so after about a year of, emailing and trying to keep up with him, the government infrastructure in Sierra Leone was just decimated after Ebola. And so they said, we're not going to be able to really continue adoptions here. So you might want to look elsewhere. So that was hard.
Yeah,
right?
That's got to be pretty devastating.
Yeah, so we moved to a new agency that was adopting out of Uganda.
Okay.
And we were matched with some children. And in the investigation process, that match didn't work out. So then we were matched with our 3rd set of children, a sibling group. And they called us. It had to be only 6 months after we had moved here to Florida. They called us and said, "You've got your court date. Buy your tickets, come here. You've got to be here in 4 days, for your court date." So literally we gave our debit card to, our pastor, and we said, "Go to IKEA, buy us some bunk beds. We're going to Uganda to get our kids." And we lived in country with them for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
Before the lawyer leveled with us and said that Uganda had just passed a new adoption law that would require us to live there for a year and establish residency before we could continue the process.
Oh my gosh.
So, so he said, find a place for these kids to live and go home, and we'll let you know if you are grandfathered in or if there is any continuance for you. So we came home without our kids. That was the hardest.
Yeah.
That was the hardest 40-hour trip back, that was really hard. And for about 6 months, I kind of held on that we would be able to finish the process and bring them home.
Yeah.
And like my hair was falling out in patches. I had lost 30 pounds, and Kevin looked at me and he was like, at some point you have to accept that God can take care of these kids with or without us.
Yeah.
And whether we're going to be their parents or not, we still love them and they're still ours. Maybe our role in their story just wasn't to be their parents.
Yeah.
And so trying to accept that, right? Trying to accept what I can't control.
Yeah.
Right? Hope for the best. We still keep in touch with them.
Do you?
But then we were like, well, I guess we could try the old-fashioned way. And then we had 3 kids within 4 years.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I know God has a plan. And like I said, we still keep in touch with our kids. I still call them our kids,
Yeah.
In Uganda. But
What were their ages when you were
they were
initially?
4 and 6
Okay.
when we were there. And that was right in 2016, the beginning of 2016.
Okay.
So, but we've got 3 at home that keep us very busy. So
Yes. Because your youngest is just coming up on a year?
She just turned 1.
She just turned 1. Okay.
So it's
wow.
crazy.
Where is that year gone?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
She's so, and she's got her brothers wrapped around her finger. It is incredible. She starts, she'll wake up in the crib, and they hear her before me, and they run in there and climb into the crib, and they're playing with her. They're making her happy. They're just, they love her.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit more about your childhood.
Okay.
We touched on it a little bit, but what was it like growing up in Arkansas? What was your family situation? And kind of give us a nice picture.
Yeah. I was the oldest of 3 daughters.
Okay.
So my mom is, she's a nursing professor, really esteemed at her university. And my dad is among the top in his field. And he worked in a different city. So he was always commuting and stuff and just really busy.
Yeah.
We were always so busy running from activities and church things and stuff at mom's school. And I just remember our days being full of activities. And, we did the basketball and we did the cheerleading and all the, the choir things. And it was really just kind of a blur,
Yeah.
Because you're trying to figure out your life and you're like, oh, and I have these 2 siblings to keep up with. And, it was fun.
Yeah. So, what type of activities did you primarily participate in?
Anything that my school offered.
Okay.
Like basketball, starting in 2nd grade, which I was awful. I was horrible. I'm really tall. I've been, this tall. I'm not as tall as you, but I've been this tall since the 6th grade.
Okay.
So they wanted me to be, this is funny, they wanted me to be the one out in the center of the court for the jump ball at the beginning of the game. But I was so timid. And I really should have been a dancer, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't aggressive or athletic really, but they wanted me to be out there because I was tall. And so I would work this deal with the coach. I would say, okay, you can put me out there to jump the ball, but then you got to put me back on the bench and I'll scope out the other team's weaknesses for, a quarter or 2. Because I was scared.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have confidence in it. And they would humor me and let me sit out a little bit because it scared me. But music and drama was where I found my confidence. And that was really fun.
So what kind of plays were you in school?
We didn't do a whole lot of plays.
Okay.
I did Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. We did that one. I'm trying to think if we did many, because our drama department was pretty small.
Yeah.
But, in college, we did Kismet and Beauty and the Beast and lots of fun, The Music Man, things
very
like that.
Cool. Yeah.
And then in Georgia, I actually got to do Sound of Music.
Oh, fun.
I played Maria in Sound of Music.
Oh, fun.
It was really
oh, my
fun.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Was that a community theater or was that at the school you were teaching, the community theater?
It was the local community. And then the next year, the other community theater did Hello, Dolly.
Oh.
So I wasn't Dolly, but I can't remember what Irene Malloy, maybe that was
Yeah,
her
I was
name.
going to say, were you one of the other two girls
Yes.
there? Yeah.
Yes. It was really fun being in like a professional theater kind of
Yeah.
setting and doing those shows. And
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of theater growing up too, so I understand that culture and just the amount of fun that can be, and inspiring. So what is it like for you being now with your office and kind of running everything versus when you were just a few years ago teaching small little kids running around, and now you have your own little kids to teach. So how does that all tie in for you?
Well, I would say the whole adoption experience really kind of taught me something about time. That it's our most valuable commodity. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
Yeah.
So the day that I had my son, Kai, he's 5 now, I decided I was only going to work 2 days a week.
Okay.
And the rest of the time, I was going to be with him.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's only little for a little while. And you ask any parent, and they're going to say, you better treasure this time because it flies by. And I really wanted to heed that wisdom.
Yeah.
So for me, you caught me on a Tuesday, so I've got my deodorant on, right? I brushed my hair. I'm wearing normal clothes. If you catch me on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's probably messy bun, getting it done in the backyard where we're playing dinosaur, digging holes or something.
Yeah.
Because I want to spend that time. I want to play. I want to be with them. And Kai's about to go into kindergarten, so I'm grieving losing him for a significant amount of time in the fall. Because, I've really, my word of the year for several years has been savor. I just want to savor those moments. And then, like I said, they go to daycare 2 days a week. So on Tuesday and Thursday, I can be boss mom. I can run an office. We can have this going.
Yeah.
And then, I'll do appointments on the weekends or hop on a Zoom after the kids go to bed. But really, my life revolves around them. Yeah. Because I know it's just a flicker. It's just going to be a little bit of time. And once they're all in school, I'll take over Locala. It'll be great. But, but for now, I just want to be with them. And I want them to have all of my attention. I'm really focused on not multitasking. I just wanted...
That's got to be hard as a mom, not to do all the multitasking.
Yes, it is. And so the phone has to be put up, And it's, I remember maybe Jad was a baby, and Kai was trying to talk to me, but I was trying to deal with him, and he grabbed my face and turned it to him so that I could hear him, and I was like, dang, kid.
Yeah.
So I've really... eye contact, and I don't know, I just really try to prioritize that. Just live in the moment.
Yeah. So you have some flexibility with your job, because I remember I didn't know you when you had the first two, but we were just getting to know each other when you had your daughter, and you had her at the office. So were you? So that required a little bit of multitasking, but
there you go. Yeah.
Were you able to do that with the others as well? Bring them into the office when they were babies, or
I have a little pack and play set up, and take them. If I was going to do an appointment, at a client's house or something, I'd take them with me. And I've had many a client offer, the baby starts fussing and they say, do you have a bottle? I'll feed him. I mean, what kind of customer service is that, Here, while we're doing our paperwork, would you like to feed a baby?
Yes. Well, hey, I got some baby snuggles while I was there.
You did. So, and she didn't spit up on you or anything.
No, that you know what? That's pretty lucky.
You were very thankful.
Yes. And several years ago, I had a photography studio, and I had another photographer that actually did the newborn photography. And so I would assist, but I didn't want to be the main photographer for that, because the main photographer usually gets puked on, peed on, pooped on, whatever.
Yes. 100%.
So I just got to do some of the snuggling in between, and then,
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. I got some baby snuggles that way too. I always appreciate the baby snuggles. But, so tell me what's in store for you guys coming up. What do you have coming up?
Well, Kai's about to start T-ball. So we are delving into the world of extracurricular activities, which I think for a while we were just kind of still cocooning, after COVID. Like we still were just in our happy little bubble at home, and maybe we'd venture out to a playground or two every now and then, but, we were just hanging out, and now it's time. It is time. So, just adventures like that. I'm, business-wise trying to really, I guess, ramp it back up, from, Bree is a year. I can focus now, and I'm just trying to savor.
Yeah. So do you think you're going to keep it about 2 days a week when all the kiddos are in school? Or are you going to pump it up so that you don't get, disoriented sitting at home?
Right. No, I can't sit.
Yeah.
I can't sit or I'll fall asleep because I'm actually narcoleptic.
Are you really?
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Not really.
No, but I mean,
Right.
To the person sitting next to you, when you fall asleep, maybe not so exciting.
It's true. I fell asleep when I was teaching once.
Oh, really?
These second graders, they were sitting on the mat, and we were learning lyrics to a song, and I would say the lyrics, they would repeat them back, and I remember at one point going, and it was quiet. And I said, "Did you guys repeat the words?" And they said, "Yes, Miss Bradford." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't hear it."
Oh,
so
my gosh.
Yeah, I had fallen asleep for just a split second,
Yeah, yeah.
But
so how do you manage that? I mean, how long have you been narcoleptic, and how do you manage it?
I mean, I've always been the sleepy kid.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest, Never been able to make it through a movie, you try to sit through some kind of lecture, you're drooling on your notes because you fall asleep. But no, when I was at Disney, my commute was about an hour each day.
Oof.
And so it was talking on the phone or listening to like talk radio or something.
Sure.
Because music just lulls me right to sleep.
Really? I was going to say, well, talk radio, that kind of puts you out, doesn't it?
if it's something interesting.
Yeah.
And now especially, good podcasts.
Yeah.
And calling family members, like, I tell them at the, when I get to my destination, I say, "Well, you saved my life. You helped me get here safely. Thank you."
Wow. Yeah. So things
fun.
that people don't think about having to manage, but I would have never known that about you, actually.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. All of my energy is just, I guess it's a defense mechanism, survival technique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, we're almost out of time already.
Okay.
So is there anything that you would like to talk about that I did not ask you today?
I just, I really can't think of anything. I'm just so thankful for this opportunity and this friendship that we have, and the trust that you have in letting me share my story with your audience. I really don't take that for granted, and I hope it's encouraging, and maybe some people will laugh a little.
Yeah.
So
Well,
thank you
thank
for
you.
this chance.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I love getting to know you a little bit more and learning a little bit about your Disney career and
Yeah, definitely.
some little things I didn't know about you yet. So
There you go.
it was new to me too. So hopefully the audience had just as much fun. But thank you so much, Anya. I appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the Locala podcast. Once again, I'm Lisa Anderson, your host, and we were just speaking with Anya Bradford. And we hope that you will join us for our next episode. Remember, if you enjoyed this, to please subscribe and give us a like. And we will see you next time on the Locala podcast, where we focus on connections through stories.
But she learned to forgive them. And she went all over the world telling her story and helping other people to forgive others. And that's, every one of my characters has a theme. And the Corrie ten Boom one is on forgiveness. Very powerful.